Good day, good evening, or good morning, everybody. So I would like today to welcome all of you into our webinar session. And before we start, I want a little bit to introduce into the framework that we will be using today. So hopefully on your right-hand side, you see chat, Q&A, and handouts tabs. So feel free to use it. And post your questions during the session while I'll be presenting and talking during the webinar. We will do our best to answer all your questions at the end of it. And on the handouts section, feel free to download some kind of nice material prepared by us. Hopefully it's going to be helpful. And let us invite you today into the session, how to overcome the potential failures in the Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management Migration Project. So before we start, I would like to introduce myself, who I am. Sadly, I cannot see you live, but me, I'm Agne Peleniene, and I'm running the Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management business line at OneClick Factory. Myself, I'm in the field for the past 18 years, starting from consultant, project manager, running a number of implementation projects, and hopefully something I will share with you today. So what is our agenda for today? So first of all, I will take a chance to introduce OneClick Factory and probably give you a little bit background to why we are covering topics as today. And then probably we will go through the main areas that are related to challenges management during the preparation for migration projects. So one is what are the common challenges that we can name in the pre-sale phase and how to overcome those? What has to be done before considering a solution migration to avoid possible failures? And then typical objections when migrating to Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management and how to manage them efficiently. And then we will move to QA session. Let me tell you a few words about OneClick Factory and why the topic as of today is so critical for us, why we are talking and inviting the partners actually to have a discussion. So first of all, we are your business software cloud factory that working in all Dynamics family, on all Dynamics platform products as Dynamics IX and Finance Supply Chain Management, Dynamics and EVN Business Central, CRM, and .NET platforms. And the areas we are specialized are Grace development, technology transformation, quality assurance, and support and readiness. Also, we have a number of users that we are hosting on Azure for Business Central. So supporting partners is in all those areas, we kind of have a tendency to appear in the project that we want to do our best for the partners and support them the best. So it's kind of a step for preparation that we're talking about. Also, at OneClick Factory, already 120 experienced professionals that working every day together with you. And for the past 4 years, we are acting as Microsoft ISV Development Center, supporting different ISV partners, moving the solutions to Business Central, to Finance Supply Chain Management, re-implementing between the platforms, or creating purely new solutions, also together with the certification services and daily communication together with Microsoft. So why it is important to talk about the topic how to prepare best, because going into the road of on the road of partnership together with partners and leading them through the process from pre-sale stage, from project formulation stage, and then moving the solutions on the most newest technologies and working together with the partners, managing every single risk that we meet in the project. Actually, probably we would like to talk how to prepare best. And you know, I was watching this movie that was just recently on the Netflix and was very good phrase said, girl poorly prepared is set up for failure. So let's discuss how to prepare best for our migration project, and let's start with the pre-sale phase and how to overcome possible challenges. So when we are talking about the pre-sale, pre-sale is kind of getting into the new era, into the new approach that partners probably should take together, led with Microsoft. And actually Microsoft very widely now is presenting Microsoft Catalyst program. And actually during the program as such is very widely named and widely communicated that customers supposed to be involved in the process from the very early stages, that we sell not to the customer, but we implement project together with the customer. So for the customer to be able to own the project that at the end of the day is going to be their own, first of all, they're supposed to be well prepared. They're supposed to know what they are talking about, why we're talking about the migration, what's going to be the value of it. They're supposed to be involved very well from the very beginning for us to be on the same page in communication. The next thing we also, because normally we are on the older versions, those versions can be 16 years old, 15 years old, 10, kind of quite a life cycle. So we're supposed to understand where we are, where we're today, and what customer actually has as up-to-date expectations. Because going through the change management for nobody is very easy or very funny. It's quite stressful process to go through, and we will be talking about it a little bit later today. But for us as for the partners, understanding where the customer is coming from and what is the customer expectation from the first day of migration project live would give us very right base to continue communication where we would propose customer to move forward. So for that, we are usually at One Click Factory together with partners. We are running such so-called best path assessments, where we spend a couple of days analyzing the solution, going through it, showing the customer that yes, we know what it has done on your system, and is it going to be valuable for you to move all those modifications going further. And then, as the next step, we have to draw the strategy. We have to listen, first of all, to the customer stories and the needs moving forward, how they're imagining the company to grow further, what they're expecting from the new technology, what were the main challenges that they have today, and also to take into account all the possibilities of the Dynamics 365 family products and actually how the different setup of it will allow a customer to scale in the processes into the future. So bringing all together is kind of a number of workshops that's supposed to be done together with the customer to align on the actual expectations. As a next step, we are talking about solution migration and how to be prepared to avoid any possible failures. So to be very short on this, we are talking about the onboarding phase or preparation for the onboarding phase on the project. So after pre-sale, when everybody is pretty much excited about some very bright future, about the new technology that is going to be carried on the table and so on. But out of this fantasy world, we somehow have to get back to the earth and start talking about exact tasks, exact goals, exact timelines and milestones, what exactly is supposed to be done. It's quite extended step of preparation with a lot of details, because if we are talking about the migration project, that is thousands of hours to go together for the partner together with the customer. So good preparation is not telling the customer that everything is going to be right. No, it's actually splitting everything in quite detailed steps and explaining the customer what's supposed to be expected as a delivery after every single milestone, what's going to be goal, and actually what is going to be expected from the customer, probably to approve, to add, to test, and so on. Also, very clear responsibility is supposed to be defined, because I'm pretty sure that you already used to quite colorful teams at the customer implementation projects, where there are a few partners, a few ISV partners, the customer IT team, maybe a number of freelancers, and so on. So it's quite an extended team that's going to take part in the migration project. And actually, everyone's supposed to understand quite well their responsibilities and at what moment of time they're supposed to take some specific task. Also, stakeholders are supposed to be very well informed and understand also their responsibilities in that project, if they will have to approve something or take into account some risk mitigations and so on. Another is very important, that our migration projects to Dynamics 365 are not anymore an easy game. So skilled team members are very important. And what we are noticing here at One Click Factory, that usually people from experienced to senior actually are the ones who are expected to drive a project like that to success. Because like my team likes to say that they are developing without specs, so during the migration projects. And then employee training is supposed to be properly planned, and if we want to benefit and involve the customer into overall implementation project, so we're supposed to take into account that customer probably will have an expectations as the same as they had for during the existing system. And we have not only to show the new features and functions that they supposed expect to see in the new system, but also we have to shift and lift a little bit the mindset of what does it mean to have a system in the cloud. So what they're supposed to expect from the system, what's going to be the working routines, and actually also to train them a little bit, maybe on a little bit different approach to work together with the system. And now let's discuss a little bit what are typical objections when migrating to Dynamics 365 and how to overcome them. And now we would like to ask you a few questions in a quite fast manner. So I see that the question that we prepared for you is not a big surprise. So based on the answers actually that we see, so probably the most popular is that the cloud version is more expensive than on-premise, that you meet it quite a lot. And the second one, that the current X version works perfectly, why should I change? So let's see how probably we can help you to talk to your customers, and we will discuss all those three approaches during the next presentation slides. So, but before, let's just look at theoretical kind of presentation. What theory says? What are the most resistant groups when we are coming to the customer, and where we have the biggest resistance for implementing the new ERP or for migration projects and so on. So, and surprise, surprise, but mid-level managers are the ones who are usually the most resistant. And of course, we can speculate why. But my personal opinion, because those are the people who will carry the highest workload, because they have to work with the people and to motivate them. They have to write requirements, they have to approve, and they so busy, they usually bottlenecks in the company. So there is not a surprise that we see such a huge percentage. Then in the second place, we have frontline employees, and usually it's driven by fear. So the fear drives people because they're afraid that they probably might lose their job. They don't know how they are going to work. They feel very comfortable where they are. They don't want to change anything. And yes, the resistance usually is quite big. Then on the third place, we have senior level managers. And as we will see later, probably they just don't understand why. and maybe they were not involved in the decision making. And probably the least are executives and directors, because they are the ones who are approving budget for all of that, and maybe they understand the best why the company needs a new system. As before, we are speculating. So now we see that the main reasons of resistance so far are, first of all, that the value is not clearly defined. So it means for the mid-level managers, for the people who are doing daily job into the system, they really to understand why executives made that decision, why it is important for the company to have a new system, and quite a lot of product marketing supposed to be done internally in the company to work with fear and to prepare end users. So for them to understand why it's going to be better, for them to feel safe, not frustrated that something is going to change and maybe they might lose their job, and so on. Also, end users are comfortable with the current system, and it's usually we are coming into the change management approach where people just afraid for change. The next one, and probably I would say it's very important, that project managers that are entrusted to drive us through the process don't have enough experience in handling complexity and resistance. So that means what we are noticing at OneClickFactory, that for migration projects, we need senior project managers, because they will have to manage, first of all, big team. Second, a big amount of different stakeholders that's supposed to be very well informed, and a huge amount of risks, and to be able not only to communicate them well to everybody, but also to see that on time and raise a flag on time and so on. So seniority is expected, and it helps really to overcome pretty much quite a big amount of resistance. And the last one, but not the least, is lack of management support. So first of all, the company management, everybody's supposed to be on the same page. So I think it's part of the project manager's job is also to promote it properly, to make people sit around the table, and everyone in the company from the management group supposed to be kind of dying to have a new system. So what are typical objections? And you are all already familiar with all of them. So first is that the current Dynamics 6 version works just fine, and why should I? Yes. The second, that we upgraded before and it was a failure. How do you know that the project will be successful now? And the last one, probably that you actually hear quite a lot, that the cloud version is more expensive than on-premise. So the same as you, we meeting those typical objections quite frequently, especially during our best path workshops. One or another always comes. So now, actually, what is our proposal, or at least what we're noticing that works best actually when trying to have the conversation with the customer about one or another objection. So if the customer says that the current X version works just perfectly, so how we can kind of have the conversation with them? So first of all, we have to understand why. And we have to provide the purpose of changing the current system. As simple as that, for instance, licensing and support is not available on 2021. So this is kind of probably very straightforward. However, in most of the cases, companies overgrew existing system. And if the system was in the company for the past 16, 15 years, and the customer is on the version IX 2009, so the technology moved so far already, and actually the company also grew, and out of the existing system, yes, maybe it works for day-to-day procedure, but the customer is not allowed flexibly to use the system, implying new features, functions, apps, cloud elasticity, and so on. They're pretty much stuck. what they are. And this is all this innovation is actually for them to be able to grow as a company. It's just pretty much necessary. The other thing, especially if we have such big gap in years, the features and functions that exist in the new Dynamics 365, they are very nice. They're usually very lovable, and customer, they don't even expect for the system to have such huge evolution. And by showing them some areas and how those areas will easier the life, for instance, in, I don't know, year-end closing routines, actually allows to fight the resistance. So the next one, we upgraded before and what it was a failure, and how you know that the project will be successful. And this is a big part of the project manager work. First of all, to be very open, about experiences, about the risks that they had in the projects before and how they were handling them. Was it a success? Was it a failure? What were the lessons learned in the process? Also to prepare very detailed plan of possible risks, how those risks are going to be mitigated, and what we are going to do when it will happen, or if will happen in the project. Then we're supposed to identify common points of failure, and all stakeholders supposed to be informed in the very full details what's possible, what might happen, and what we will do if. And project manager is supposed to ensure stakeholders to feel secure through the process. And also the full training plan, quite detailed, supposed to be presented for people who are supposed to be involved in the project, that the training will be on time and on relevant topics based on the project flow. And now the last and probably the most popular, that the cloud version is more expensive. First of all, we're supposed to explain that is being hosted on Microsoft servers, and it would eliminate all the cost buying servers and licenses. At the end of the day, we are getting from how many, 26 to 35 servers that the customer would have to support on their own premise, and it's not an easy job to do. Then we, especially for the fast-growing companies, we're supposed to explain how their customer will benefit from the cloud elasticity and the possibilities, how easily actually they can grow, like the system will grow together with the company. And of course, provide information about 24/7 technical support that's provided by Microsoft. However, one of the things that is not mentioned here, but my technical team, every single time, and I ask exactly the same question for them, asking, so how we should embrace partners and customers to move toward this 365 cloud, they always say they will pay twice. Because first of all, they will move to on-premise, but at the end of the day, we will all end up in the cloud. So, so actually, yes, it could be maybe intermediate on-premise step, and for some businesses, even because of the data protection, it's also quite difficult actually to have the cloud version, but this is where world is moving. And actually also the technical team of the customer is supposed to be very well prepared to understand what the cloud version administration means, how the daily business will change for them, and actually just to actually work with resistance. So how we empower employees when migrating, and you already probably understood that we have to involve customer very deeply, and in person, everyone participate of the project. First of all, supposed to ask the question why, and to answer it. Then every person supposed to know what is in it for me and what is good in the system and how I will benefit out of it. Then people supposed to be safe in the timeline. They're supposed to know what will happen and when will happen and how to prepare and not to get surprises. then they're supposed to know how they will work when they will come next day at work, and they're supposed to know what will not change, because it's not only saying what's going to be new, it's also very important to communicate what's going to be stable for the customers. And then they're supposed to know that's going to be trained and how and when. They're supposed to know what's going to be done if something will go wrong. And every single week, team's supposed to be measured with happiness factor. So, actually working in that manner already for a while here at One Click Factory, we kind of very happy so far that we are able to keep our partners together with the customers grounded, prepared, ready, and informed. And we're not saying that it's easy. We are saying that it's possible. And of course, it requires quite a lot of investment from our PM team and our senior leadership, actually, that are driving the project. So if you would like to have further discussions, I'm usually very fond of supporting all our partners, especially in pre-sale stage, helping them to prepare. And if you would like to know how to start talking to your customers, so feel free to contact us at oneclickfactory.com. And I think it's time to download the materials. So the ebooks, actually, we put quite a lot of heart into it. And it will give you quite a lot of insights about how to manage the objections, then applying 3-step approach, how to upgrade successfully, and a little bit a small checklist about how to avoid failures for migrating the project. And now, I'm pretty sure it's time for QA session. I have one question. So, what people from the customer side should be involved in the pre-sale phase for the successful implementation in the further migration project? So, first of all, probably we talk about a team manager who knows IT strategy. Because we have to know IT strategy to understand where we are moving. Then the process owners, at least basic process owners, who know quite well why the system is like that today and what was done into the process and how the daily processes are running, plus expectations toward the system. So normally those are people who we communicate the most, and they kind of help the partners to draft the system that they expect to go live from the day one and empower it moving forward. So I'm waiting for more questions. I got one more question. How can as a partner benefit from the best path assessment? Yeah, so probably in the first slide you mentioned, you saw that we are using best path assessment as a pre-sale stage initial factor, supporting our partners to define where the customer is today. So I think it's one of the most crucial steps because when we going into the new project or when we go into migration project and there are a number of years that passed, while customer was developing the system. So normally, customer people changed, partner people changed, and nobody knows what the system is today and what the exact process is. So during best path assessment, what we are trying to do, we are trying to move from bottom up. It means we are coming from every single modification that exists today in existing system, and then have a conversation with the partner towards customer. So all around the table, why specific modifications were done. Are they still equivalent for today's processes? Should they be changed because some of the processes, even not, they are so redesigned in D365, there is no value to move them. Some of the processes that were developed, they don't have any meaning anymore for the customer because it might be some old localization that doesn't exist anymore. And also, we're getting the very full picture of existing processes of the customer. And from that step, we can start framing the full migration project framework, including how many modifications or processes will be moved to Dynamics 365, how many of those will not be moved, and what are the next steps for the partner to complete the final estimate of the project. Okay, one more question got. We have customers who use Azure, AWS and Google Cloud connected to their on-premise solution and enjoy it. What is a really compelling reason to move to the D365 cloud if IX 2012 R3 is doing fine? The migration costs are pretty high for the same functionality, isn't it? Actually, moving to the cloud on extensions is, yes, it's quite high. However, it depends. It depends on the solution, because if the processes stay the same, the modification, they still have to be moved. And because we invest quite a lot in redesigning those modifications, so doing migration project, it allows to save cost on analysis part of the solution, and also kind of at least ensuring that from day one, the customer will understand what they are working on. There's not for them going to be like a completely new system. It's going to be system that they used to, then it's ready to scale. Another one, if IX 2012 R3 is doing just fine, so I'm pretty sure that the customer for today or for tomorrow, they probably will not migrate. They will plan the migration in the next year or two, because it's still kind of preparation path, but we have to start talking today. Because first of all, we have to frame the project, we have to understand the budget, we have to do this all kind of who's going to do what, we have to find the resources, we have to approve the budget and so on. I never ever saw it faster than 9 months. Usually it takes 1.5. So if the customer today is on the version X 2012 R3 and they did not start thinking about it, so in the best scenario, the migration project is going to be in the next 2 years. So, and then quite a lot of things, I'm pretty sure also at Microsoft side also will change, and probably the target is that in the next 5-7 years, most of the customers will move to cloud. Next question. What level are Microsoft involved prior to and during go live in the FO cloud project? It depends on the customer size. And if, for instance, customer is less than 60 users, probably Microsoft is not involved at all. But if customer is more than 1,000 users, Microsoft might be involved quite heavily. So, and we are talking first of all pre-sale stages. So it means as higher cloud value is, as higher Microsoft is involved. So, and the bottom line is 60 users. During go live, as such, when we're migrating to cloud, Microsoft is still uploading migrated database to cloud. So this is at least kind of involvement 2 weeks before go live. And of course, afterwards, it depends on the support scenarios actually that customer is signing together with Microsoft. So it's moving probably to the fast track team, and then it already depends on the location. So what country we are, and some we have quite good feedbacks, and some areas we have not so much about the Microsoft support. But if we are talking about overall project, migration project and implementation project, so Microsoft involvement is directly correlated with the value to cloud. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for being with us today. I'm pretty sure for us technical people, the topic is very much project-oriented. But so far, 50% invested on good preparation to the project is usually kind of straight way to success. So thank you for being with me this evening or this morning. I'm not sure where you are calling from. So, and I hope to meet you in our next sessions, and have a good rest of the day.